Hi, it's Robin, and we're in week 6 of Attract Clients, Connect Authentically. And in the past, we were talking about our why, and then we were talking about the need to remember what our pain points were to get to the goals that we got, and understanding that those goals are the pain points that our clients develop rapport in and see themselves in, which are the reasons why they actually want to connect with you. And then we discussed how those pain points really are the steps that you use when you're designing your own unique programs. And I'm hoping that by now most of you have taken advantage of that one-on-one phone call to sort of work out with me what the steps to your program actually really look like. And last week I was talking about how you actually want to be remembered. What's the story that you want to be saying to be remembered? And that you continuously tell a similar story over and over again, and people start to associate you with that story. And so today what I wanted to talk about is the content is so important about what you're saying, and everybody spends a lot of time thinking about the content. But what I really wanted to do is put my speech hat on, my speech pathologist hat on, and sort of give you some tips about pragmatically in conversation and in speaking engagements. How do you develop rapport with the people who are listening to you online or in person, whether you're talking to one-to-one, or whether you're talking in front of a group of 300, 500 people? And the way that you do it is that you slow down your speed. You have to slow down your speed of speech and have a rhythm. And when you think about people that you like to listen to that are speaking, you think about how they speak, the nuance of their voice, the lilt of their conversation, the way that they have a pause just like that and reflect, a smile that they give, even the way that they pace themselves when they take a drink of water. Because the more pauses that you create in your natural conversation, the more you do, the more you are creating time for people to reflect upon what you're saying and to think. You know, for us, we're out of the gate and we're in the go mode of do. But when you're an audience member and you're actually trying to absorb the information, what you really need to be doing is taking stock of that information and seeing how that information resonates with you. And so I wanted to give you a couple of tools that I tell people to use when they're speaking. And one of them is understanding that when you are speaking to people in a non-rushed manner, and that you are choosing to make eye contact with individuals that are out in an audience, or making eye contact with somebody that you're speaking one-to-one, or taking the time to actually listen to what somebody else is saying as you're having a conversation. Those pieces are so substantial, because when you're speaking one-to-one, lots of times people feel that nobody has the time to actually listen to what they're saying. And so they take note when actually somebody listens to them. And so that's when all that mirroring comes into play, of reflecting back about what they're saying so that they know that you're actually listening and tuning in. The other thing is using a friendly way of communicating your desire to want to be there. Your body language has to reflect the fact that you are eager to have this conversation and happy to share your wisdom and what you know in front of this group of people. And even if you're talking about something that is not a lighthearted conversation, showing that you have that sense of compassion, lightheartedness, and really who you are authentically. And the more people tap into all of those pieces of you as you're speaking, as you're talking, and you're allowing them to sort of almost open the window shades to take a look as to who you are, you're intriguing them and inspiring them to think about what you're saying, so much so that they actually want to have a conversation with you. And when you're organizing your talk, I always say that the magic juice comes from how you connect with your story and to the audience that you're speaking to. So even if you have a story that you've told thousands of times or you just created one, you can create that story so that it's more specifically generated to the crowd you're speaking to. So if I'm speaking about connecting authentically in a PTA meeting, I might share different kinds of stories than I might share if I was speaking to a group of coaches. If I was speaking to a group of realtors, again, I might share different kinds of stories from my life to bring about the point of what it is that I'm trying to say. So recently, actually, I went to a real estate agency to see if I could speak to them and work with them on team building with some of the things that I'm teaching right here. And so when I went in there, and they actually were, like, what do you have to share with us? And when I said to them that, when I was a buyer, the thing that frustrated me the most was when the realtor wasn't listening to me. And what was so frustrating about it is that they were showing me things that I actually didn't want to see. And it took me a long time to be able to find the realtor that I could actually work with because we were on the same page. And as soon as I told that story, they were like, oh. Now, do I specifically work with realtors? No. But I took a time to think about a reflection of a story that happened in my life experience that I could share to them that comes back to this course about attracting clients and how it would be applicable to them and how it would, in the end, help their sales and how would it attract the appropriate clients for them to work with so that they could close. That's the bottom line, right? So I switched my story. Now, if I was going to be talking to parents and I was going to be talking about attracting authentically, I would want to talk about the relationship that they have in their family with their children and their spouse and extended family, and how do they attract the kind of relationship that they want in their home to be what they want. If they want it to be harmonious, if they want it to be, where people are doing the things that they're supposed to do without always being reminded, if they're working with the mom, let's just say, to create a more stress-free environment, well, then I would talk about a time in my life where I actually had a conversation with my kids where they had to eliminate all their extracurricular activities and only pick 2 things because there were too many things that they were running around to, and there really wasn't enough time for us to be together as a family and for them to concentrate on their work. I'm still talking about authenticity and attracting what you want, but I'm switching my conversation. So I'm hoping that you see what I'm saying. And even though if your story is the same, the piece that I like to switch up is the little story, the anecdotal story that I tell that makes me more relatable to the group of people that I'm speaking to. And that's something that I do because I feel like then the group of people feel like that you understand them. And I do understand them because none of us are just one thing. If we all took off all the hats that we all wear, we probably would have a big basket of hats, right? You know, whether you are the cook and your career, and maybe you're in a marriage, so your relationship, and maybe you're a parent, so managing your children's life, and maybe you have a dog, so you're a pet owner and you have to manage that, and all their appointments, including the pet, and then your own life and your own friends, and then your husband and your friends with your husbands, and just all of those things. Maybe you're the head of a corporation and you have that on top of everything else. Everybody wears many hats. And even if you feel like their hats aren't so big, I'm letting you know that we all have different hats. And even if it's a day where I'm not working, I'm still juggling my hats. I'm juggling the wife hat, the mom hat, and the me hat. And sometimes I forget to put that hat on, I forget to put the me hat on and really understand what that feels like and looks like, right? And I'm sure you guys do too, because you're doing so many different things. But the truth is that we all wear many different hats and have many different life experiences. And from them, we have a vast amount of wisdom and unique knowledge. And when you bring that wisdom and that unique knowledge to the front in any group that you're talking to, it makes you more relatable. And I talked about vulnerability. You don't have to share more than what you want to share, but the more you can be relatable to the group of people that you're speaking to, the more the rapport that you're building is going to increase. As soon as you start talking down to people like you're the authority and they're going to learn from you, there's a disconnect that happens. So when you create a plan of what you want to envision with your business, you have to be fearless, right? And you have to be the kind of person who's willing to take a risk with their idea, right? And that takes a certain amount of self-confidence and a certain amount of fortitude. But when we're talking in front of people that we want to attract as clients, that fearlessness and that fortitude has to sort of take a little bit of a back seat so that you could become approachable and you could become relatable. So you don't have to worry so much about the fact that they've heard it before, because even if you use the condiment salt, right? It's what you put the salt on that makes the food taste great. When I was younger, my mother used to put salt on cantaloupe, and I used to watch her. It's a European thing they do. My mother used to do this, and I used to think, ugh, right? And then one day when I was in Europe, they were doing this, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try it. It wasn't bad. I don't know if I would do it all the time, but it wasn't bad. But it was something new. Sometimes you can take the same thing that you have, that condiment salt, and you do something new with it, and it becomes completely different. Don't worry so much about what you're saying has been said before, because it's coming from you. You experienced it. And you're sharing that knowledge. And the people that you're speaking to are developing a rapport and a relationship with you. And that's priceless. So, I hope this was helpful. And stay tuned for the meditation, which is all going to be about creating a space for your genius. Take care.